Good morning, children. In this session today we are going to study how agriculture was developed by the Chola rulers. What developmental activities were introduced in the agriculture and how they provided irrigation facilities for agriculture in the Chola Empire. As we have studied earlier classes, the Chola Empire mainly located in Tamil Nadu region. So many of the achievements, many of the welfare activities the Chola rulers had taken. Also here many achievements of the Cholas were made possible through the new developments in agriculture. Okay, agriculture was most important activity or economic activity in the Chola Empire. We know largely the most of the areas were located in the Chola Empire were located on the Kaveri Delta. So the Kaveri river was providing sufficient water for agriculture. So irrigation activities also had taken place here. So we can find that there are river Kaveri branches off into several channels. Many channels. We can find a river Kaveri has many smaller tributaries which are all these channels are also draining into or emptying into Bay of Bengal. Okay, flowing through this Tamil Nadu region. The tributaries or branches of the Kaveri river and finally joins the Bay of Bengal. So these all channels sometimes overflow whenever there is a heavy rainfall. These channels or smaller tributaries overflow, so depositing large fertile soil, large quantities of fertile soil on the banks of these rivers. Okay, so when these channels of the river Kaveri is flooding, the fertile soil will be deposited on the banks of this river. So water from these channels also provide necessary moisture for agriculture, or the irrigation facilities are arranged by the rulers from these channels also. So agriculture, particularly cultivation of rice, is prominent in this region because of the sufficient water facilities available in this locality. Although agriculture had developed earlier in other parts of Tamil Nadu, we can find out here it was only in the 5th and 6th century that this area was opened for large scale cultivation. Earlier also cultivation of was prosperous here, but from the 6th, 5th and 6th century onwards, cultivation of large scale cultivation began or have taken place here, because how they had that, we know large areas were also, there were forests in this locality, and they began to clear the forest regions, began to clear forest in this locality, and also made the land, leveled the land. If upper lands were there, that all were leveled and made it fit for cultivation. For we can find forests were cleared and some other lands were leveled also. Even the forest lands which were up and downs, all were leveled for the cultivation. In the delta regions, where is delta? What is delta? Kaveri delta we say. What is delta? Triangular land mass of a river which is nearby the coastal areas. So the delta regions or the Kaveri delta regions, embankments were built. What is embankment? Previous class we have studied. On the at the end of the or the border of the region, clay or soil, the walls are constructed to prevent water flowing outside. So in the delta regions, embankments had built. This also helped flooding, prevented flooding also. Flooding also can be stopped. In the river flooding, then crops may be damaged. So that embankments were built so that flooding from the channels of the rivers will be prevented. So also many canals had to be constructed to carry water to the fields. We know that from now we are in the modern world, we are doing the constructing the dams. From the dams, canals are constructed so that the water will be sent through these canals for irrigation facilities. So they also constructed canals from these channels or from a main river Kaveri and to carry water to the fields. So these are the arrangements they have done. In many areas they have cultivated 2 crops in a year also. 2 crops were grown in a year because of the water availability or the irrigation facilities. Many cases we can find out it was very necessary to water crops artificially also. Sometimes a variety of methods were used for irrigation. These natural methods may not work out some regions, because some regions wherever there are higher lands, agriculture may not be possible through this type of irrigation. So some areas they used to construct wells. Wells were dug, and in other places huge tanks were also constructed to collect rainwater. We know that when huge tanks or the lake like tanks are constructed so that during the rainy season water will be stored there, that can be used for irrigation purposes later. Okay, so here remember that irrigation works require many planning. Irrigation, such kind of irrigation works are needed planning, organizing labor and resources, maintaining these works and deciding how water to be shared. We know that planning is necessary, otherwise what happens, without proper planning, if the dams or canals are constructed, sometimes flooding occur, overflowing of the canals or channels also take place, which destroys the entire crops, etc. So proper planning is needed, and through this planning we can send water or share water to the needy, depending upon the availability of water and depending upon the different seasons. When off seasons we can send water through these canals also. So most of the new rulers as well as the people living in the villages took an active interest in these activities. That means almost all rulers in the Chola Empire had taken very much interest in agriculture and irrigation. So they developed the agriculture in their locality, or irrigation facilities also provided for agriculture here. So in the coming class we will study more about the administration of the Chola Empire.